legendary circuit Paul Ricard, the venue for rounds 13 and 14 of the World Touring Car Championship. We're now officially into the second half of the season, including today, 6 race weekends, 12 races remain, and just 28 points between our championship leader, Jose Maria Lopez, and 29 points between Lopez and closest rival, Ivan Muller. So the cars are on the grid with the exception of Nicky Katzberg's Lada, which is struggling to leave pit road and will have to start from there. What about this Paul Ricard circuit, former home of the French Grand Prix? Our guide is Hugo Vallant.
Hi guys, welcome to Le Circuit of Le Castellet, also known as Paul Ricard. I'll take you around one of the circuit. First break, around 130 meters, gotta carry a lot of speed into the first corner, as the straight is not so important for this until this corner. Second corner almost full, chicane, carry a lot of speed as well, but I have to slow down the car a lot for the right turn. That is very important for the whole straight, especially because the straight is uphill. So the chicane is very important because it's gonna be the speed for the whole straight, and then very fast corner, almost full. Turn 5 is almost full in this one. Turn 6, oh. 2 apex on this one. Got a lot of minimum speed into the middle of the corner. A long left corner as well with a late apex. That is going to take us to the sector 3. Here we have a long corner as well with 1 first apex. Carry more speed and take the second apex over here. Have to brake very early and in line for the last corner of the circuit. And yeah, this was a lap around the Castellet. Very tricky to talk to you guys because it's a very short circuit and I have not a lot of time to talk to you in between the corners.
A great job by Hugo Vallant. Imagine that, driving at full tilt around the circuit, 1 minute 30 lap, and trying to converse and be distinctive in a foreign tongue. Excellent job by him, and it gives you an indication of just how tricky the track is. Well, Jose Maria Lopez still our championship leader. Ivan Muller in qualifying closed 1 more point. The gap now down to just 29 between Lopez and Muller, and Sebastian Loeb claiming his first official pole. He was fastest in qualifying here last year, lost it for a technical infringement. So this, unbelievably, is actually his first ever World Touring Car Championship pole. I couldn't find a record of him having won one before yesterday. I didn't trust my results sheet. I didn't say it was his first pole, but it is. Well, sitting alongside me this weekend is Richard Coleman, the boss of Craft Bamboo Racing. And Richard, all over the place with GT racing, with touring car racing, and with the World Touring Car Championship. But focus here on the grid on this developing battle between Jose Maria Lopez and Ivan Muller. We'll get to Richard in a moment. Let's hear first from our points leader.
Trying to keep the car as cool for as long as possible. Jose Maria, your rivalry with Ivan Muller seems to have intensified recently. How important is it for the championship that you beat him today?
It's not vital to beat him today. It's still a long way to go. The important thing is, I think the most important thing is when you're not maybe 100% in shape, is to be there, to be ready to don't do mistakes, to score as much as you can.
Well, whether he's 100% mentally or physically remains to be seen. He doesn't quite seem to have his swing. The timing isn't quite there. The imperious form that he showed last year in the beginning of this, just a little bit off kilter. And that's not been aided by the fact that Ivan Muller has really hit a purple patch. He's scoring points left, right and centre. The gap is coming down, but it's coming slowly. What's Ivan's view?
Needless to say, the fans will be excited about the fight to that first corner. Ivan, is your battle between Sebastian or Pechito?
There is a battle with Sebastian, Pechito and Ma, because we all have the same car, we all have the same potential on the start, and we all want to be first at the first corner, so it will be tight for all of us.
Your strategy?
flat out.
Love it.
His longtime partner Justine is here with their 18-month-old baby and Ivan's older daughter as well. So plenty of family support, family and friends all here. Trouble for Nicky Katzberg. Car went out of the pits, came back in. There were under bonnet issues. So unfortunately, he's going to have to start from pit road. Should be 12th place on the race 1 grid. Looks as though they are all ready to go. And I'm sure Nicky actually is probably, well, he is in the car. I thought he might be sitting outside trying to keep cool. Circuit Paul Ricard, when it was the French Grand Prix track in the 70s and 80s, was a huge draw for French motorsport. It was then closed and redeveloped as a test track. There was no racing. Now racing and the crowds have been brought back, and there's a very big crowd on hand here today. Drawn in, you have to say, judging by what everybody is wearing, by Citroën and especially by Sebastian Loeb, the man on pole position. In the same way that when we go to the Hungaroring, red, white and green, orange, black and red of Zengo and the Mole Group and Norby banners are everywhere. Here, this is a very, very French crowd. And Richard, that's great to see that involvement, to see those big French names bringing the fans in.
Absolutely, and we've got some top French drivers on the grid. And I mean, this morning at my hotel, there was fans in the car park waiting for Sebastian Loeb to come out of the hotel in the morning. They're very, very, very hardcore fans here.
Yeah. Well, Thiago Monteiro in his Honda will start in 7th position. And we hear that Nicky Katzberg's issue is a starter motor problem, and that means he's going to have to start in the pit lane because he's going to need a remote start or a slave battery at least to get the car started. So he'll be a pit lane starter for both races here. It's going to be a big blow for his hopes, I'm afraid. Just in front of the Honda of Thiago Monteiro is Hugo Vallant. Just missed out on a top 5 Q3 position. 6th spot for him. But he has still got plenty of pace, and he's had a couple of front row starts and top 3 or 4 starts. Not yet quite mastered starting in the Chevy, I think, and also maybe just a little bit of nerves getting to him when he's been in that exposed position. And that, you know, that's something that's going to take time to get used to, is being in those positions, Richard. You know, first time, it's bound to be a little over-awing for a younger driver.
It is, and the team have been really chasing their tail on that. I know for a fact that they've tried a couple of different clutch manufacturers in the recent races, a few different start techniques, and I don't know, maybe in some ways it would have been better to leave it consistent and let the driver get used to it, but his starts have been very hit and miss. Let's hope he gets a good one today. Yeah,
when you're that far up the grid, you want one. The 2 Chevys on row 3, Hugo Vallant, Tom Chilton. And Tom's mum and dad are here. Graham Chilton was chatting yesterday with representatives from Sebastian Loeb Racing. And when Chile was asked, oh, have you been to see Sebastian Loeb Racing? No, they came to see us. So obviously, with an eye for the main chance. Quing Hua Ma starts 4th on the grid, one of the quickest drivers all the way through the free practice sessions. He seemed to have his ducks in a row fairly early on, where Sebastian Loeb and Ivan Muller and especially Pachito Lopez were missing something from the equation. They didn't have all the pieces of the jigsaw together. Now, Ma didn't quite find the pace that the rest of them did in qualifying. It's his first race here, though, Quing Hua Ma. Didn't race here last year. Of course, the races last year were in the rain, so that probably didn't help much in terms of their setup. But he was certainly at the sharp end, and once we get into the race, your qualifying pace is not necessarily going to be reflected by your race pace, because that's often generated by who's around you. So the question then, Richard, is where does the racing stop? Turn 1, turn 2, finish line at the end of lap 1?
Citroën will tell anyone who listen that they're free to race, but of course, when you're racing with your teammates, it is a different thing. We're in front of a home crowd here. There'll be directors from Paris, and you know, nobody wants to be the driver that's going to put 2 of them out the race. I think one of the reasons that that Jose Maria, Ivan, Sebastian were a little bit off Mar in practice was I think they're more focused on their race car here. The setup between qualifying and racing at this circuit is one of the biggest differences you'll see over the year. Circuit's very, very abrasive on tyre wear, and I think the top guys were more focused on their Sunday car, knowing the pace is going to be there on Saturday afternoon anyway.
Well, pace on Saturday afternoon. Last week, Ivan Muller pulled out the lap of the gods. This week, it was Sebastian Loeb who left his teammates slightly slack-jawed as they watched the pace that he could produce. And he has got a great opportunity as our DHL pole sitter to win race 1 here in France. To start him on the grid for race 2. Cars on the final formation lap here at the Circuit Paul Ricard. Rob Huff in his Lada. He had a disappointment in qualifying. He'll start in 16th place. I'll try and catch a quick word with him as he starts to sweat inside the car because it is a very hot day.
So warming everything up, making sure all the settings, anti-lag, start maps, throttle maps, everything in the right place. Difficult qualifying yesterday, had a broken rear hub, which meant that we're starting back at 16th, which is very out of place for the last 2 races. So very, very hot here, going to be seriously tough races today. Something around 70 degrees in the car by about midpoint of the race, so quite a lot of fatigue going on today, I'd imagine. So fingers crossed, we're going to get a good start, pick a few places up. Cheers, guys.
Green flag waves at the back of the grid. 5 red lights come on, very quick change, and a good start from Ivan Muller from the outside the front row of the grid. But as he gets into the gears, Sebastian Loeb has the lead, and Jose Maria Lopez looking down the inside. The short run to turn 1. Muller shuts his door right up against the pit wall. Lopez had a big bobble there, and Mar goes around the outside looking for third, but Lopez still on the inside. Loeb leads, Muller second. Lopez and Mar side by side. Tom Chilton comes through ahead of Norbert Mikulits, and sideways one of the Ladas, and was that Van Lagen or was that Huff? Not entirely sure. I figured that somebody would hit the tyre stack in turn 1. Loeb leads, Muller and Lopez hot on his heels, and it is Huff's car, I think, that has got a tyre missing. As they come up the hill into senior, this should be flat out pretty much in qualifying. A tiny little lift and maybe a confident stab at the brakes. Looking back from Hugo Ballon, Thiago Monteiro and Gabriele Tarquini from 14th on the grid up to 9th already. The world's best starter of a front-wheel drive car, bar none. Sebastian Loeb with the lead, Richard Coleman, but Ivan Muller all over him, looking like he wants to get by in a hurry.
Citroen's unbelievable off the line. All 4 got a great start, and they had to sort it out in the first corner there.
Jaap van Lagen all in one piece between the Hondas. Mehdi Benani runs out wide, picks up a place from Stefano D'Aste. He'll have to give that back. D'Aste will go around the inside, and Muller still pushing Loeb very hard. He wants the points. 25 for a win is better than 18 for second, especially if he can get Sebastian Loeb between himself and Jose Maria Lopez in third.
You get really rewarded for a win. It's a big 7 points to second.
And only 3 points further back is third, so at the moment Muller not pulling out what he wants over Lopez. Muller now basically has to try and win every race, but so does Lopez. You know, this battle is going to be very intense. Now Muller having to worry more about Lopez than he is actually worrying about Loeb in front, because the gap has changed a little.
Car's very hard to drive at the moment. Cars will be set up for oversteer at this point of the race, so we can try and control understeer towards the end of the race. Of course, they're fat with fuel, so right now the cars are the most difficult to drive.
Sebastian Loeb, your race leader, from teammates Ivan Muller, Jose Maria Lopez and Qinghua Ma. Ma perhaps coming under a threat now from Tom Chilton with Norbert Mikulits behind him. That's your top 6. Hugo Ballon 7th ahead of Thiago Monteiro. Jaap van Lagen got in front of Gabriele Tarquini on lap 1, so he is now in 9th, Tarquini 10th. And Rob Huff with broken suspension on his way back to the pits. Hasn't got there yet, so the leaders will come up with him soon. And see, Muller and Lopez have made contact. Muller's got a little bit dragging there on the rear right of his car.
Not going to be helping the aero of the car. Might make him slightly vulnerable on the run down to Signa.
Well, and this is why, watch Lopez from closer to the camera on row 2. Sees that Muller is moving over behind Loeb, and immediately he got a great run up through the gears. Immediately goes inside. Well, Ivan really didn't squeeze him hard. There was the tiniest of little bobbles between them. Nothing too much to worry about. Van could have shut the door really quite hard, but as you said earlier, you don't want to be the Citroen driver that takes 2 Citroens out of this race. Thiago Montero's bumper cam showed us nothing momentarily because it was completely blocked by the bumper of Hugo Vallant as Montero was pushing him through the corner. The Honda with very good traction out of turn 2 must be right in the sweet spot of their gear range.
Absolutely, they've been struggling a little bit in the straight line, so it'll be interesting to see if Thiago can stay with him in the tow.
Well, here we go from 1 down, or this is down into turn 1. And then into turn 2. That's why it all went dark.
They're hitting the brake pedal at 220 kilometers an hour into that turn 1. It's a big corner.
Big corner 2 up the hill at Senior. 4th gear stuff. And you see the driver's working the steering hard here. There's a lot of steering input. And when you get out of Senior, this long double right at Beausset and then the long right at Garlabon, which we're just coming into now, working that same left front tyre constantly, and that doesn't allow the temperature of that shoulder to drop, and it keeps the tyre wear rising and rising and rising.
Absolutely, and you'll see some of the drivers really start to struggle at the end of this race. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, so...
Turn 6, that's Beausset, where we just were. Hugo Vallant runs out wide. Now, did he get nudged by Thiago? He's going to make sure that Thiago has to work hard for this, but the Honda has got the run down the inside. That's your runoff area. You don't have to worry about AstroTurf or bumpy bits of grass here. So Thiago Montero moves up into 7th place. Oh, something flew off the car there. Now, did he hit the tyre stack, or was that from underneath as you drop down into turn 2?
Picked up a bit of bodywork damage there.
That might have been initiated by the bump with Valance the previous lap. Right in front is the remaining larder in the race because Katzberg's car has not left pit lane. There's the bump in the final corner. Thiago eager to get on with the programme.
Yeah, the stewards might have a look at that one.
Again, looking back from Hugo Vallant. I think that was 6 of one and half dozen the other. Oh, so the debris actually was from Vallant's splitter hitting that curb. We've heard the Chevys bottoming out every lap in qualifying through there.
That's going to hurt him for the rest of the race. Be very draggy now, lose some downforce through the high-speed turns.
They're going to have to change that before race 2 as well. There's a 15-minute repair time, and here's Hugo struggling again. Exactly as you said, losing that downforce at the front. Jaap van Lagen comes under pressure from Tarquini. The yellow flag is out there because Rob Huff's car is parked on the side inside Beausset. He clearly couldn't get it any further.
Very bad news for race 2, that for Rob. He needed to get the car back, give the guys the time in race 1 to repair the car. It's really not good news for him.
I don't think he's going to start race 2. Gabriele Tarquini down the inside of Jaap van Lagen. Katzberg's car, it looked like they had decided they're going to try and change the starter, and Vallant is in the pit road. Clearly feels the car's a bit undrivable. See, Katzberg's car is up in the air, so they're trying to fix it in the race, hopefully, and then start him on his grid spot in race 2. Quite a lot of damage there. He did hit that tyre stack pretty hard, didn't he? Maybe that is why the splitter's dragging all over the floor, and he's got no grip here. What's the speed turning into Senior?
220 kilometers an hour through there, yeah. Martin. Very, very fast turn, the high speed turn on the circuit.
So 125 miles an hour, and this is what happens when you get it wrong. I think that's John Philippi being shown going the wrong way there.
See, Loeb's actually lapping really well now. He's consistently a couple of tenths quicker than his teammates. Ivan's got a mirror full of Jose Maria Lopez at the moment.
Well, where Lopez is going to find something special, I'm not quite sure, but what you're going to see is he'll be using very different lines from Muller for 2 reasons. 1, to constantly keep his nose visible in the mirrors, and 2, there's Rob Huff, helmet off in the runoff area at turn 6.
Rear suspension again there, Martin. That's exactly what put him out of qualifying.
Well, it was the left front that was adrift, and I wondered what he'd hit. And it was so a steering arm or a wishbone is broken there, or a bearing on one, a rose joint, because there was side-to-side contact.
Very unlikely to start race 2, I would say now.
Yeah, I'm afraid if you can't get it back to the pits, it's all but done. Yeah, so Lopez will be trying to keep the car in cooler air as well. Less turbulence means better cooling for the engine, for the brakes, and also it allows the aerodynamics to work a little better, so you get better grip and better tyre life as a result.
Absolutely, and he's going to want Ivan to work his tyres harder than him at the moment. You know, he wants Ivan to be taking that life out of his tyres so he becomes vulnerable in the closing laps.
It's all green around the track now. Rob Huff has managed to back the larder out of harm's way. That's why I had the helmet off, so he could look round, because with the hands device you definitely can't. You can see he's managed to find a gap in the barriers and vanish from the inside there at Beausset.
Yeah, we're not even at the halfway point, and Pachito is definitely taking a tighter line than Ivan in most of the corners where you really need to work the front tyres. So Ivan looking like he could be in trouble towards the end of this race.
Stefano D'Aste was looking forward to a hot race today. No air conditioning in his helmet. You see all the Citroen drivers and a few of the others have got a cool air tube blowing in through the back. As Rob said, it's going to be 70 degrees probably inside the cars. He doesn't mean Fahrenheit either. He does mean centigrade, Celsius. It'll be very hot indeed. Stefano ran into damper problems last week. The dampers were blowing the seals and blowing all the oil out, and the thing therefore about as responsive as a bag of spanners. New dampers on the car this week. He said that's the second time this year that they've had a race weekend ruined by saggy dampers, so they've got a new set on. Car feels a whole lot better, but Mehdi Bennani putting him under pressure. Tom Coronel behind, then Ricard Rydell ahead of Grégoire de Moustier.
Bennani's got to be very careful. He's the pole sitter for race 2. He doesn't want to be getting any big damage in this race, and Stefano D'Aste will know that.
Jaap van Lagen will be alongside him. He will start second for race 2. Van Lagen at the moment in 9th place where he started the race. Sebastian Loeb in 1st place where he started. Pulling away, gap was 1.8 seconds at the line last time round. Muller and Lopez. This is really an arm wrestling contest between the two of them now for the remaining 12 races, isn't it? It is just the two of them will only have eyes for each other.
Absolutely, and this is the time of the season where actually, when you say the season's long and other cliches like this, actually now people start to work out how many races are left,
yeah,
and what the points gaps are, and the psychology is starting to change. Ivan's been in form recently, but at the moment it looks like Jose Maria's got something over him.
Yeah, he looks like he's just got a little bit more pace, and Pachito's car just wasn't working well in free practice. And he said he finally felt like he'd got a car that he could use in qualifying. Maybe he's just made another little change to try and tailor the car to today's conditions. It is hot. Qualified at 3 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. Track temperature was way up in the 40s. It's probably pretty close to that now. It's been another clear blue day. Bennani again trying to sell something to D'Aste down the inside. He's got the grip, he's got the traction in that Citroen. He goes through. D'Aste concerned there to get the door closed on Tom Coronel and Ricard Rydell, so he didn't lose any more places. So Bennani now up to 10th place, behind Jaap van Lagen in 9th. That's where they started.
D'Aste struggling now. I think his tyres are starting to go off. And look, it's very vulnerable to Coronel now going up the hill.
Yeah, so Bennani, D'Aste was drifting out wide all the way there, wasn't he? Bennani just went through the open door. He didn't have to lever it open.
He's not in a position to. He really needs to start from pole. He's got to look after that car. He's got to get it home.
See how he now scampers away from D'Aste very quickly. It shows that the Black Munich Motorsport Chevrolet is sort of dictating the pace of those behind. And on the tail of the queue, the man in the best position probably is Grégoire de Moustier. Muller and Lopez very close indeed again. Lopez just desperate for an opportunity to get his front wheels alongside.
We're only at the halfway point as well, Martin. Second half of the race. It's going to get much more difficult for the drivers. The tyre wear's really starting to come in now. I think some of these guys are going to be just about holding on at the end of the race.
It's a good old day so far for Sebastian Loeb fans. Loeb 3.38 away. The gap is growing by the lap. Last time round he was in the 31s. Everybody else in the 32s apart from Muller, who did a 33.2. That's why Pachito was close behind him. Well, they're taking a little breather for his tyres, maybe. Safe in the knowledge. You've only got to block a... Ooh.
Made a mistake there.
It does look like he made a mistake. That was the forerunner to where we saw Lopez trying to get his nose down the inside. Ivan ran out wide from Beausset into Bondor, the tight left-hander at turn 7. Was that contact induced in the first place? Was there a little bump between them? Hard to tell from that shot. You needed a few more frames before that one.
Ivan struggled slightly through that sector all weekend compared to his teammates as well.
Well, it was that sector, as you pointed out in qualifying, sector 3 where they are now, where Sebastian Loeb just whipped them. There's something about what he has or what he and his car have in those changes of sectors, changes of directions. Only 3 corners, but he just left them for dead.
Absolutely. If you think about it, you know, Loeb was slower than Ivan and Pachito in sector 1, sector 2.
Yep.
All of his qualifying lap time came from that 3rd sector.
At the moment, he's faster than them in all 3 sectors on every lap so far. Sebastian Loeb is romping away with this, and Ivan Muller is only just clinging on in front of Jose Maria Lopez. This is a tough battle for second. Sebastian Loeb leads the race. Last time round, a 1 minute 31.7. Ivan Muller in second, a 1:32.4. 1:32.4 as well for Jose Maria Lopez. Lopez's speed, Richard Coleman, is directly being dictated by the car in front. If he could get free of Muller, he could go quicker. Now, whether he could catch Sebastian Loeb or not remains slightly a moot point.
Indeed. I think Ivan has got 6 long laps now. I even think Ma may be able to get on the back of this little train. Ivan's going to have to start driving defensively. That's going to cost him some lap time. And I think, yeah, Ma could get in on the back of this, and that could make it quite interesting.
Jaap van Lagen, the yellow Lada in 9th. Behind him, the red, white and green of Morocco on the Citroën of Mehdi Benani. And the battle for the Yokohama Independent Trophy points. Tom Chilton in 5th, leads that, ahead of Norbert Mikulits in 6th. And then it is Benani in 10th place, who will be 3rd in the Indy standings. His car, like Mars, run by Sebastian Loeb Racing. Oh, we're not supposed to mention that, are we? But openly Benani's car, but Mars' car is run by Sebastian Loeb's guys as well, in Total Citroën shirts. Ma is just gaining a fraction. Last time round, a 32.5 to the 32.3s of Muller and Lopez as Rydell gets inside Daste. So Stefano's tyre's gone, or his damper's blowing oil again.
Yeah, you can see that Stefano's not running a lot of rake in the car, and that's the angle of the front to the rear. And I think that's what's causing him to not get the best out of those tyres at the moment.
That's a good point, actually, because you can see with Gregoire de Moustier behind him, more of Greg's rear wing visible, which means the back of the car is higher up than the nose compared to Stefano's. There you see it really straight ahead. It looks almost from head-on like it's a different car, because there's a wing out the back of de Moustier's, and you can barely see Stefano's. And if we can barely see it, that means the wind can barely see it. So he's gone for low drag rather than for front-end grip because of the Mistral straight and because of Senior.
Absolutely, and that's not helping him look after his front tyres. I think part of it could be that, you know, Stefano is much more of a rear-wheel drive car driver, and I think he perhaps can't live with some of the front-wheel sort of niche setups that some of the other drivers are enjoying now for their tyre wear.
Well, the more pointy, the more front-endy you make it, the more the rear slides around, and perplexingly sort of makes it feel more like a rear drive car, but Gregoire de Moustier sends it down the inside. Good move. Saw the opportunity, and he knew what was going on there. He knew what he was thinking. Stefano's going to miss that apex. He's going to drift out wide. There'll be room for me. The problem for him was then the road went the opposite way. And again, Daste here drifts out wide, but...
Daste will have the inside for the next corner.
Yeah, little touch, and Greg will now cut back to the inside. See, he's not short in racecraft. He knows exactly where Stefano's car is going to end up washing away to, so all he's got to do is wait for the opportunity. Absolutely. Takes the place away. Candy from a baby.
Stefano weak on traction on the exit of that turn. Greg knew that he'd be weak there. That's a really good move. Got the move done before the brakes.
And he was looking for that all the way. It's the bowler looking for the weak spot. He knows. Oh, and then outbrakes himself into turn 1. Have to do it all again this lap. But again, the same issues will be present for Daste. He's going to miss the apexes. He's going to drift out wide because he can't turn, especially with these tyre stacks, can't turn in tight enough. Nicky Katzberg comes out of the pit lane, so new starter motor fitted, flat 4 back under the car. They're going to run him round for a couple of laps just to make sure everything's A-OK. And there he is in the background. He should be a grid starter for race 2.
Yeah, technically you're supposed to be able to restart under your own power, so I think they took the decision to change that starter motor to make sure the car was legal for the second race.
Yeah, I think, you know, instead of sacrificing both races, they had a good 30 minutes to change it, and they went, right, sleeves up, let's get on with it. And that won't affect him in any way for race 2. Car can still go back into Parc Fermé with all the others and preserve his grid spot.
Absolutely, and meanwhile this battle's going on, Ivan's pace is just starting to stabilise a little bit, although slightly slower than Jose last lap around.
And out front, 4.7 seconds clear. Sebastian Loeb has just eased off the middle pedal of fraction, just nursing his tyres. We say comfortably, but he'll be feeling anything but comfortable.
Once again, Martin Michelet's ahead of those Works Hondas.
Yep, and Jaap van Lagen under pressure from Mehdi Benani, our 2 front row starters for race 2. Benani goes down the inside, and I think Jaap saw him coming and knew the jig was up, and he can't afford contact any more than Mehdi can. That would have been foolish for the 2 of them to make contact. So Jaap lets him go. Still in the points in 10th place, Van Lagen. And Greg de Moustier still looking at Stefano D'Aste for 13th. As Jose Maria Lopez, I'm sure, is still looking at Ivan Muller for 2nd place. Lap 13 of 16 in Paul Ricard. Ricard Rydell, the blue Honda, going through the end of your shot there on the queue behind Van Lagen, Benani and Coronel. And the next little battle, 3 Chevys. Stefano D'Aste for Munich Motorsport, Greg de Moustier for Craft Bamboo, and John Philippi in the Campos racing car. Here is our lead. This is our 2nd place battle, in fact, our 2nd place trio. And this lap, Jose Maria Lopez has dropped off the back of Ivan Muller. 0.3 behind last lap. 0.6 becomes 1.2. So in 2 laps, Muller has opened up nearly a second on Pechito.
Meanwhile, Mar has been catching up Pechito, so...
Yeah. Well, 12 laps, 13 laps behind Muller means that Lopez tyres have been working a lot harder than Muller's and a lot harder than Mar's, because he wasn't close in the slipstream behind either. Battle for best of the Hondas is for 6th. The black and red car, Norbert Michelis, ahead of the Castrol Honda. And that Mole Group car keeping Thiago Montero at bay, at least for the moment. Well, Norby started in 8th, Thiago in 7th. Thiago will be annoyed that he lost that position, and you see the gap from the red and black car of Tom Coronel back to the red and black car of Michelet. On lap 1 they were nose to tail, now there's a big gap. So we didn't see where, but Greg's got by Stefano. So de Moustier in clear air now on the Mistral. He can stop worrying about his mirrors and look ahead up to Senior and start to make some clear air. That's exactly what Ivan Muller is now doing, leaving Lopez behind. So in the position where he was 3rd on the grid, has Jose Maria gone for an early, aggressive setup? Has he set the tyre pressures to have traction early on in the hope of making a move? And if he doesn't, knowing that he's going to be bottled up, and then he's just going to have to live with it?
Yeah, I think they'll probably be running a fairly similar setup, but don't forget, he's been behind Ivan for many laps. He's had the air taken off his front splitter, he's lost downforce, and therefore his tyres have been working very hard. So I think now probably the degradation's higher than Ivan, and who knows, maybe he's just decided it's not going to be worth any risk, and I'm going to bring this car home.
Well, you might imagine the same true for Thiago Montero. Degradation behind Norbert Michelis for most of the race will mean that Norby's got fresher tyres or less worn tyres than Thiago. And just behind them, Jaap van Lagen in 10th place. Tom Coronel trying to angle for some points. Battle for best Honda for 6th place. Norbert Michelis at the moment just in front of Thiago Montero. Thiago's not giving this one up at all, is he? Gabriele Tarquini, little off the pace. Tarquini again was right behind Thiago on lap 1. They got separated by Jaap van Lagen. Gabriele got by after 3 or 4 laps.
Gabriele seems a bit out of form at the moment. You know, Thiago's definitely been the quicker of the 2 teammates. And in recent weeks, Gabriele being a bit frustrated in the press about the team, some of the lack of progress. He's frustrated that Citroën have now caught up on their starts. Yeah, not a lot for Gabriele to smile about at the moment. And I think Thiago's in a much, much better place mentally.
Okay, great start from Gabriele to go 14th to 9th in the first corner. after that. Just got shuffled away a little. You're right, Thiago has habitually been the man who had all the bad luck in the team. If something wasn't going right, it wasn't going right on his car first. I don't know where he lost that bumper. So the rear bumper missing on the car.
He did have a little bit of contact getting off the grid, but it looked very light. But I wonder if it weakened something.
Certainly the bumper is gone, so somebody's got a souvenir somewhere. See both the Hondas starting to move around quite a lot at the back now. Norby's car is habitually a little bit loose. Thiago's definitely starting to be as well.
Yeah, and he's not going to want to be any trouble with any of his bosses for taking another Honda out of the race. So Thiago's going to have to be have a really good opportunity, or probably better not to take it on this last lap.
Yeah. Final lap and 5.9 seconds. Sebastian Loeb is clear. Stefano D'Aste desperately trying to hang on in front of John Philippi for the last place in the finishing order, or penultimate, I suppose. Philippi, having seen exactly what Greg de Moustier was doing, looking to try and get by as well. Out into the final sector of the lap comes Sebastian Loeb. 2 corners remain for him.
We've not spoken much about Sebastian this race because he's just been out front, but I mean, to pull 6 seconds over Ivan, so dominant. I mean, what a great race from Sebastian Loeb.
Great race and victory in France for Sebastian Loeb. Pole to checkered flag, a dominant performance, made a good start, took the lead in turn 1 and never gave it away. Ivan Muller 5 seconds back, 6 seconds back at the flag. In second, Jose Maria Lopez in third, ahead of Qinghua Ma and Tom Chilton. The battle of the Hondas, Norby in 6th, ahead of Thiago in 7th, Gabrielli in 8th. Mehdi Benani will be 9th, preserving the car nicely for race 2. And Jaap van Lagen with fellow Dutchman Tom Coronel and Rickard Rijdel with a really good run across the line. Who gets the nod? Rijdel does, 11th place ahead of Tom Coronel by 20 thousandths of a second. So the Honda Team Sweden fans and guests who are watching will be impressed with that run to the line. And Gregoire de Moustier, 13th ahead of Stefano D'Aste and John Philippi. So that completes our runners, with Hugo Vallon retiring from the race, Nicky Katzberg not starting it, and Rob Huff being sidelined on the first lap with steering breakage at turn 2.
The good news is for Katzberg is that he got out there and he put in a very competitive time, so there's nothing wrong with the car. He should be fine for race 2.
Yeah, so big celebrations coming up for Sebastian Loeb Racing and for Sitchin. The boss has won here in France. Looking at Sebastian Loeb, I think we'd better not say the words, "You made that look easy," because he is going to say that was anything but easy. Look, he looks like he's just got out of the pool, never mind out of a car. And you can absolutely be confident that his race suit is as drenched as he is, and his helmet, so it'll be a first thing for race 2 will be a complete, clean, fresh set of underwear and race suit. Well, you saw him going over to our Alex Legui. Lego, what's our winner got to say?
Sebastian Loeb wins on home ground here at Paul Ricard. Sebastian, that was a brilliant race. You were dominant by 5 seconds over the line. Talk us through it. Tell us about the start.
Yeah, in the start, Ivan put me a bit of pressure in some corner. I tried to close the door 1 or 2 times, and then I was able to take a little lead that let me drive like I want, and without closing the doors. And then I tried to push to go away a little bit. I think he was under the pressure of Lopez, so he couldn't go flat out. I could take a lead, and then it was more comfortable. Just drove like I know, and like in rally when I am alone, and it was okay.
You're in your comfort zone, aren't you then? Once again, like I said before, I mean, needless to say, you look like, even though you're at the front, even though you're that far ahead, the pressure is still on, right?
Yeah, you know, you have to stay concentrated, and if you see in the split the others are coming back and closing the gap, then the pressure is going up. And so I prefer to keep in my rhythm like I feel, try to save a little bit the tire too, but just driving like I can, and I think it was the right reason.
Your home fans will be very, very pleased. Well done, Seb.
Yeah, huge congratulations to Sebastian Loeb. And, you know, when he's in that zone where he knows that he doesn't have to worry about the mirrors and what anybody else is doing, The ability to produce the laps has never been in question. You know, this man has raced prototypes at Le Mans against the very best. He can drive racing cars, don't ever doubt that. Ivan Muller 6 seconds behind. Yes, he had Jose Maria Lopez behind him, but the best way of defending against somebody behind is to attack and go as hard as you can. Don't doubt that Ivan was doing exactly that. Fastest second sector of the entire race, by the way, on the last lap by Tom Chilton, trying to figure out where there is a shortcut in sector 2. Down the Mistral through Senior, there isn't, so showing great pace and clearly still had some tyre under that Chevy right towards the end. But it is a podium 1, 2, 3, 4 for Citroën here in race 1. Well, there is a very hot Sebastian Loeb taking on lots and lots of fluids, as all the drivers will be doing. And just in that little clip, saw that it wasn't the left front, it was the left rear of Rob Huff's car. Exactly the same that gave way in qualifying without contact. So Richard Coleman, you call that absolutely right. From the head-on shot on lap 1 down the straight, it did look like you could see a wheel sticking out. It did look like it was the front, but it was definitely the rear.
The other thing these drivers now got to deal with is that it's not long before we're back underway, and you know, with cabin temperatures of around 70 degrees, there's not much recovery time. So these guys get as much water as they can in the car and try and lose as much temperature as they can.
Well, the pit lane will close at 10 to 2 local time, so in 29 minutes. So they got to hydrate a lot. And after they come off the podium, you'll be definitely looking for a change of underwear, because that will be wringing wet. We have a swimming pool at Portimao in the paddock area. I don't think you'd be any wetter going in there than they are getting out of the car here.
Not at all, Martin.
In third place, Jose Maria Lopez.
So in third place is our championship leader. Ivan Muller has closed 3 points on him. The gap down from 39 to 36.
Ivan Muller. And the winner here at Le Castellet, Sebastian Loeb.
Very popular winner.
No doubt about it.
And Ivan's body language is pretty good as well. He'll be pleased that he's ahead of Pachito. That was the most important thing for him.
Well, for Pachito right now, what he said before the race is absolutely critical. No zeros. Just take points until the swing comes back, until you've got that momentum, until you've got that mojo.
Tom's had a great weekend.
Yes, Tom has.
Very mature.
And now the
used his tyre allocation well in free practice. Trusted that the pace would be there in qualifying. He's done a really good job. Really impressed.
And now the national anthem for the winning manufacturer. And to present the trophies for third, second and first, we welcome Mr. Shoichiro Eguchi, the Regional CEO Europe of JVC Kenwood Corporation. to third place, Jose Maria Lopez.
So Jose Maria Lopez, 26 points now in front of Ivan Muller, which is 1 win and 1 point for 5th place in qualifying. Now is all that separates them. The gap is coming down. Ivan Muller in 2nd place, looking pretty happy. Sebastian Loeb, our race winner, looking happier still.
Thank you.
30 points so far in his weekend.
To the stage to present the trophy for the winning manufacturer, Mr. Dominique Serres, CEO of the FFSA.
So Xavier, the head of engineering at Total Citroën Sport, will receive the manufacturer's trophy. The FFSA, of course, is the Fédération Française du Sport Automobile, which is their equivalent of, or their ASN, their local sporting governing body. And the Yokohama Trophy winner is Tom Chilton. Mature race and plenty of pace in that Royal Motorsport Chevrolet.
Well, thank you very much. A final round of applause, and if the drivers could gather
So a quick photo op. Ivan's clearing off. He's forgotten the practice because he's never been on a podium before, obviously. Not since last Sunday, twice. There are your top 3 from race 1 here. A very happy Citroën trio. Jose Maria Lopez, our championship leader from Ivan Muller. What was at one stage a 50-point gap is now halved to just 26 points. Muller is on a real roll. That's now 6 races in a row that Jose Maria Lopez has not won. And Richard Coleman, he knows that he's got to hang on, but it's easier to say that than it is to do it and to convince yourself that it will come good.
Absolutely. Ivan got off to a terrible start beginning of the season, and you know, I don't think mentally was dealing with it that well. But you have to say, you know, it's now 5-6 races since Pachito's won a race, and Ivan is really closing that gap now.
He really is. Well, Ivan Muller is down, trying to shelter from the heat here. Temperature is way up into the 30s. And the mechanics are getting ready to fuel the cars. 3 minutes, they'll be refueling. That's a 5-minute period, and then there's another 10 minutes of repair time for the cars. At the end of which time the pit lane will close. Sebastian Loeb, as ever, in the center of the media storm. Let's catch up with Ivan. He's with Alex.
Yeah, down here with what looks to be a very happy Ivan Muller. Ivan, obviously you wanted the win, but you were ahead of Pachito. Talk me through race 1.
Yeah, I did my best on the first lap. I was a little bit faster than Seb, but afterwards, you know, with those cars, when we are behind somebody, it's difficult to follow. So I just defend my 2nd place against Lopez.
And a fantastic battle as well, great for us to watch. Talk me then through strategy for race 2.
To do a good start, overtake as much car we can during the first lap, and then we see.
Thank you.
Big old microphone there, Al. Looks like you've got a flute in it or something. Ivan Muller running out very wide here. This was the one error that almost gave Lopez a chance to get by. And it's those little moments that Pachito's got to seize on and remember that he can force those errors out of Muller when he pushes hard.
Absolutely. That was his one and only chance, really. It's very difficult to try and overtake a car that's the same manufacturer as yourself.
Really hard chance. Fingertip slip in the catch in the slip. Almost came good. Didn't quite.